Welcome to Mission to Inspire, where we share life experiences in our careers, personal lives, society, culture, religion, finance, family, and much more. Meet your host, Shola Ajibade, as she takes you on a ride to fuel your inspiration.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mission to Inspire. My name is Shola, and we've got our guest here with us today. Her name is Danna Diaz. Hi, Danna. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Danna, she's all the way from the US. She's joining me virtually today. We will be talking about Danna's journey, and it's titled Beyond Gasping for Air. So it's just going to be around what she's been through, a new book, and insight into what we could do to get to that recovery stage. So Danna, I'm going to leave it to you to talk a little bit about yourself, and then we'll do a this or that.
Okay, very good.
You now.
I am just a middle-aged woman here in the middle of cornfields in Illinois, outside of Chicago, Illinois, in the US. I am a mother. I have a 20-year-old son. I have two cats that I'm not sure if I'm their mother or if they're my support animals or what the situation is, but we love each other dearly. And I do have a husband as well that I am very in love with. He's so dear to me. And I just write books. That's apparently what I'm doing now with my life. I have taken lifelong abuse and trying to make lemonade out of lemons, as they say. So I've written one book that has been published already, and I have two more coming next year, all about this very awful and dark thing that we call abuse. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of experience with narcissists in my life, but I definitely want to turn it around and just make people aware of it, but more importantly, how that they are able to overcome it and heal from it.
Right. Wow. Thank you for that. So, well, ultimately, that's what we're going to be talking about today anyway. Yes. So thank you for opening the floor. We're going to ask you a few questions around this or that. Sure. What you do, your writing. And I know you do podcasts as well.
I do. I have done almost 70 podcasts, I think.
My goodness.
I may have hit the 70 mark already. I kind of stopped counting, but yes.
Okay. First question. This is about writing, your writing process. So pen and paper or digital writing tools?
Digital. I type 90 words a minute, and my thoughts are everywhere, so I need to be able to just type them out as fast as I can.
Oh my God, you type Jesus Christ.
I do.
Wow. Have you done a secretary job before?
Well, you know what? My mother and stepfather owned a business and they needed help with data entry, and so during my middle school and high school and part of college, I did help with the typing. And so you learn real fast when you're under pressure.
Great. Now, second question. This is about your podcast, right? Well, the preference. Solo podcasts or solo episodes or interview with guest experts. Which do you prefer?
I have not done many with guest experts, so I'll just say solo, because I always say I'm like a doll with a string. If you pull the string, I just start talking and I don't stop. So I guess I'm better off on my own.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Okay. Healing modalities. So do you like mediation or journaling, your personal healing?
Yeah, personal healing. I don't want to be one of those people that, has to wear the shirt that says doesn't play nicely with others, but I do better on my own.
Okay. Self-care rituals now.
Yes.
Reading a book or going for a long walk to unwind?
Long walk. I am a walker. I will keep going forever and ever. But yeah, I do love reading though, but it puts me to sleep. So I like the walks.
You know, a lot of authors that I came about or came across, they like walking because then they can talk, or sitting in a park. They just like to go somewhere seclusive.
Yes.
And then, yeah.
And for me, a big part of it is because I'm in front of the computer all day, every day.
Right.
Either I'm writing or I'm on a podcast every day. And I love what I do. I'm not complaining, but I don't get out much. There are times where 4 or 5 days go by and I have a friend who will call and he'll say, how many days has it been since you went anywhere? You know, sometimes I don't even know. So it's nice for me to get out, but I'm very fortunate. We have 25 acres where we're at. So my husband has made a trail for me along our creek in the back of the property. So it's private. Nobody bothers me, but it helps me collect my thoughts. And I like hearing the birds and looking at stars at night. And so it is nice to get outside once in a while. Just once in a while.
That sums it up. Last question then. Nurturing creativity in a quiet room for writing, or bustling coffee shop atmosphere?
No, I have to be in my office writing. I get very easily distracted because there's a myth. People think that when you're writing, you're actually writing, but 90% of the time you're just standing around staring at your computer, hoping that thoughts and words and things will come to you in exactly the right way. So, yeah, I can't be distracted. I need to focus, and if I'm really going and I'm really on it and I'm getting it all out, and then I have a distraction, I can lose it. So I like to just have that focus, because if I was in a coffee shop, I'd be talking to everybody, drinking coffee, ordering biscuits, you know, no. No, that won't get anything done. It would be nice, but it won't get anything.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. We don't want you to lose it. So we want you to more focus so we can read more of your books.
Yes, hopefully.
Okay, so we're gonna go into the interview now. As we said earlier, the title of our discussion today is Beyond Gasping for Air, your insights into recovery, basically. Yes. So the questions will be around that. That's basically around your journey, you know, what you've been through and what you're doing presently, and your insight into the future. So the first question is, can you share a brief overview of your personal journey and how it led you to write Gasping for Air? So actually, that Gasping for Air is the title of your new book, basically.
Yes, Gasping for Air, the Stranglehold of Narcissistic Abuse. And so that book tells about my previous marriage. I was with my ex-husband for 25 years. The backstory, which is actually the book, one of the 2 books that'll be coming out next year, is about my childhood. I was abused as a child. I was not wanted by my mother. My stepfather wanted me even less. So I was physically and verbally abused. I did not feel worthy. I was told I was unlovable. Nobody would ever love me. Nobody ever wanted me. I was a burden, a bother, and everything else. So I went out into the world thinking, I'm never going to let anyone mistreat me like that ever again. But I fell for it. My problem was I was starving for love. So the first person that came, the first person that came along who expressed any kind of interest, you know, I didn't care for him. He actually reminded me very much of my abusive stepfather, but I had nobody else that was interested in me. And here again, I was thinking I didn't even deserve for anybody to pay any mind to me. So I thought, I'll give him a try. It was not a good relationship, not even from the beginning. We had good times, but the bad times were really bad. And I stayed with him because I honestly thought that was what I was familiar with. I was familiar with somebody treating me badly. And even worse was that my mother had told me throughout my whole childhood that, my stepfather had mistreated me because he loved me so much. So I had this idea that that's just how men treat women in a relationship, that if they love you, they might hit you, they might throw things at you, they insult you and demean you and humiliate you, and that's just how it was. I didn't like it. It didn't feel right, but I didn't know anything other than that. So we were together 25 years, and as time went on, things got worse, to the point that towards the end of the 25 years, I had gotten very ill, and that's where the title of my book comes from, Gasping for Air. Living under that chronic stress, living in fear of what he would do to me, because at this point he had even admitted that he wanted to kill me.
Oh my goodness.
He wanted me dead. So I became so sick. I dropped weight. I was down to 93 pounds. I could barely breathe. I could barely move. I needed an oxygen machine and a backpack with the mask just to breathe and keep my heart beating. But I was having a very difficult time, and it took my doctor sitting me down. He said, "You have a lung disease, you are autoimmune, and your body is shutting down. All of your organs, they're at minimal survival rates." He said, "You have to make some change, otherwise you're going to die." And I never thought stress could kill somebody, but I had to figure that out on my own. I had to really think about that. Was I going to let this man have this power over my life, a life that I didn't even want to live, a life that I was miserable in? I didn't even feel like it was my life. I felt like I was living somebody else's life, his life. I wasn't sure, but it wasn't what I was destined for. I had gone to college. I had gotten a degree in journalism, and I studied psychology. I had even thought about becoming a lawyer to help other children that were in abusive situations and fight for their rights. I had all these ideas of things I wanted to write, and I wanted to travel and see the world and experience things and meet people and experience different cultures and eat all the foods that were available because I love eating. And I couldn't do any of that because he restricted me, he isolated, he bound me. I couldn't do anything or see anything or go. I couldn't even go to the store for food because he would time me and tell me I was gone too long, and that accused me of, I must be cheating on him with another man, and then I would pay the consequences of that. But we had some domestic violence situations. And we had a son that I was trying to protect in the middle of all this. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't have the strength physically, mentally. I didn't want to die for a life or for a man that I didn't even want to live for. So that's when I decided to make a change. I just laid down one night, laid down to sleep, and I asked myself, what do I want? Because nobody had ever asked me what I wanted. Everything that in my life had been dictated to me because my stepfather was very controlling. Narcissists are very controlling people. My ex-husband, very controlling. They told me what I could eat, where I could go, what I could do, what I should say, what I could read. Everything was dictated to me. So I said, what do you want, Dana? What do you want? And I knew what I wanted. I wanted to write. I wanted to travel. I just wanted to be happy. Simple things. Yeah. I shouldn't be made to feel bad for having those desires, those basic things. Exactly. So I decided at that point that was my life-changing moment where I said, you know what? I'm done with this. I never wanted to be divorced, but I couldn't be in a marriage where I was I mean, my soul was already dead. I had no spirit left. I had no drive, no motivation to live. I was just going through the motions every day, and that's not life. We weren't meant to be here for that. I knew I was meant to live a much better life, a more fulfilling life. So I gave myself permission to do that. And that was the most freeing and liberating thing that I have ever done for myself. So I did divorce him. Things got more violent, most violent after the divorce. But I am here, standing here 3 years later, only 3 years, short time. But I have gone through a lot of healing mentally, physically. I have gained my weight back. I am healthy. I don't need my oxygen machine anymore. I don't have all those symptoms because I'm surrounding myself with positive people. I'm living a life that is true to who I am because I'm writing now. I have published the 1 book. I've written 2 more books that are in the process of being published next year. I am helping other people, which is filling my soul too, because I know that other people are hearing my story or reading my book, and they're telling me it's giving them the strength or the hope or whatever it is they need to make the same transformations in their lives. So I really just want people to be most aware of the fact that they do have the power. I realized, because I did not feel safe, you can't just get up and walk out of an abusive situation, but you do have the power to remove I always say I felt like I had a leash, like he was holding me by a leash, but I was the one that had the power to free myself. And I need other people to understand they don't have to be bound to those circumstances, and life is so much better on the other side.
It is. From my experience, victims of domestic abuse tend to go into a relationship that is the same, and it's like a cycle.
Yes.
Do you know why that is and how people can get out of that cycle?
I think it is just the familiarity of it, especially because most often, if you are a victim of abuse in an adult relationship, you had some experiences or some traumatic event from your childhood that was similar. And I think it's because we internalize the things that are said and done to us. I mean, we do as adults as well, but when you're raised in a situation where you're, like I said, my own mother was telling me that this is how a husband treats, this is how a father treats somebody they love. Oh my God. That's not okay. No. She chose that for herself. And that's where we get into these generational cycles, because even my grandmother was married to an abusive man. And I'm not sure about before that, but we continue these cycles. Yeah. How we get out of it is just being more aware of ourselves and being aware of the situation we're in and the toxicity of it. Because I tell people all the time, we all have that gut instinct. We can feel when something isn't right. Yes. We feel when something doesn't resonate with us.
That's true.
And we ignore it so much. How many times do people go on dates, with somebody and I'll go on another date, or they might be with the person for years, but I don't know if I want to marry them. I don't know if I want a commitment. It's because they're trying to force it. But how many times are we in a social situation and we meet somebody, maybe just in a friend relationship or even a coworker or whoever, that we just click with them. It's like we've known them forever and we can finish each other's sentences. We don't apply that to our romantic relationships, though. We force things. And so here we are as adults, unfortunately, when all we have known is abuse, mistreatment, being talked down to, maybe even being physically abused or God forbid I fortunately was not sexually abused, but I know people that tend to fall into they don't feel that they're deserving of anything more than that. and you go into these adult situations and you're just used to it. There's something, it doesn't feel right, but it's familiar, because there were nice men, nice young boys, even in high school, that asked me out on dates. I didn't know what to do with it. It was almost boring to me that they were normal because I didn't, it sounds silly, but I didn't know what to do with somebody who wasn't treating me badly. It's disturbing to think that that's where our minds are. But when we've internalized these ideas about ourselves and what we deserve, whereas I look at my half sister, she's my sister in my heart, but for the sake of, relational, ideas, my biological father had a daughter she was raised, as anybody could imagine wanting to be raised. She was supported, she was loved, she was wanted, encouraged, uplifted, all these wonderful things. And she is very sure of herself. She is confident. She knows who she is. She's very secure in that. And she is living a life that is true to that. And I admire that so much. I wish I had that. But at this point, I can't go back and erase my childhood. All I can do is break the cycle, which is what I finally did. It took me a little while to do it, spending 25 years with my ex-husband, but I can certainly say going forward now, I don't have room in my life. I don't tolerate anything less than what I know I deserve now. And I know what feels right. I know what I'm worth. I'm going to be 48 next month, and it took me a little time, but at least I can live the rest of my life on my terms. Yeah. It requires setting boundaries with people, not letting people say or do anything that, I think is disrespectful or that I should tolerate. But I'm living true to who I am. And I think that's the most important thing. And I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. I'm not a people pleaser anymore. I do say no sometimes,
right?
But it's very liberating to be able to do that and to say, you know what, I do matter. I count. How I feel matters, even if it doesn't matter to you, it matters to me. So I'm going to set the terms of, if you want a relationship with me, this is how I need it to be. Just like you're going to need something, that's how you need it to be. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that part of your journey.
Of course.
Thank you. This awareness that you've developed and has helped you to get out of the narcissistic abuse. How has that influence helped you on your mission to help others? Because I know now you're helping others
yes,
of that situation.
Yes, I think it's, it's helped me in a way that, I'm trying to figure how to put this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not an attorney. I can't wave a magic wand over anybody, not even me. But I think it's important for people to see an example and to have hope. And I think because I'm just a regular person, I'm not somebody saying that I'm an expert or some authority. It's more relatable to people that can say, okay, you know what? She was scrubbing toilets 3 years ago, cleaning houses and on her hands and knees, washing floors. But look at her. She is now a published author of a best-selling book and on podcasts around the world. And somebody, people, want to hear what she has to say. So maybe I can have that too, and not everybody needs to, wants to be a published author, but whatever it is, even if it's just getting out of their abusive situation, and maybe they always wanted to be a nurse or a teacher or whatever. And it's not even about your career. It's just about who you are as a person and knowing that you matter. And I think, too many times, we look at celebrities and sports, the athletes, and, it's nice to think that, but it's not something tangible to the regular person. And so that's what's really important to me, is I just want people to know I am that regular person. You know, I'm no better than anyone else. I'm no better than they are, but I've been where they have been, you know, and, you know, even in my childhood, you know, we were very poor, and people will read in the book that comes out next year. I mean, I used to sleep with cockroaches crawling on me. I'm not from some, you know, wonderful, you know, big house with maids and things that I'm entitled to anything better. I have been there. I have done that, but I am now rising above the circumstances that I was born into, and the cycle that I was basically made to relive. But I also made the decision, because we all, every single one of us, has a mind and a heart, and we all can think for ourselves. And I decided I was going to be the one to break that cycle. And so I did that 3 years ago when I divorced my ex-husband. You know, and I am remarried now. I never thought I would get married ever again, ever. But I've known this man a long time, and I've known his family upwards of 16, 17 years. And so we had a foundation, but I'm glad that I gave it that chance. And I'm glad that I took the risk, because I can see now that even though I was raised and made to believe that I just was worth nothing more and deserved nothing more than the cycle that I was living, I see now that I'm not broken. I am not damaged. I am not any of these terrible things we call ourselves because of the mental and physical struggles of our circumstances. I am actually in a very loving, very healthy relationship that even surprises me on a day-to-day basis. Because this is, you know, those boring boys in high school, my husband probably would have been one of those boring boys, but you know what? He's what I need. And he's a loving, kind, forgiving, generous man. And these are the people that we need to surround ourselves with, whether they're partners or friends or whoever, because who you are around really does make a difference in how you talk to yourself and how you present in the world as well.
That's true. That's true. Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm short of words because of the strength and the energy and the power that you have to come out to discuss in honesty what you've been through and how you're helping people to, you know, get out of it through your life experience. It's very inspiring. Thank you for coming on our show. Yeah. In your podcast, right? You talk about the healing process. Okay.
Yes.
So can you elaborate on one of your key steps or strategies that you found effective in recovering?
Yes, absolutely. One of the biggest things that I promote is, I guess most people call it self-care.
Right.
But you see, most people go straight to therapy and say, oh, you need therapy. You need to get over, you know, you need to do all this work to heal. It is a lot of work to heal. But I think that if we're healing from a place of hurt and pain and anger and resentment and all these feelings that we have towards the people who have harmed us, I'm not sure how productive that can be. So I always tell, and plus therapy costs money, and not everybody has the financial ability or the medical insurance or whatever, you know, at least not here in the US. It might be different in the UK. But what I like to tell people is start with yourself, start at home. It's free and it's very personal. What I call self-care is doing anything, just indulging every little whim that just deposits a little happiness into your heart. Little things. You know, for me, it was, I started wearing lipstick because, you know what? I I could, and I didn't have my ex-husband telling me I looked like a whore, and I liked how I looked in lipstick, and I wanted to paint my nails red because red is my favorite color, and I wanted to have a pint of ice cream for dinner instead of cooking and having what you're supposed to have. And it's silly things, and it's taking the walk, and it's walking outside at night and looking up at the stars, and whatever it is, watch, I like watching horror movies. I remember just getting a bunch of popcorn and candy, and I was by myself, but I watched a very scary movie and I couldn't sleep that night, but I was just delighted that I was able to watch this movie. But, whatever it is, we're all very different. Maybe it's those beautiful earrings you're wearing. You put them on and you feel, you're feeling yourself, because you do look good, by the way. But, that's the thing, is you need to feel good inside. And so whatever it is that's going to make you feel good inside, and just kind of take care of you for a little bit, those little doses of happiness that you weren't allowed before, or that you felt bad about allowing yourself before, they're going to put you in a more positive mindset to receive whatever you decide to go through for therapy or healing. And even with, beyond that, for those who do choose therapy, there's so much more than talk therapy.
That's true.
You can do, I did writing therapy. There's art therapy, yoga, there's music therapy. I mean, you can do so many other things. But again, I think the reason these things work is because they're expressive and they're personal, and they're part of who you are, instead of just sitting in front of somebody rehashing all this stuff and answering their questions. I think it's just really important to get to rediscover yourself and who you are, so you can move forward in that healing journey a little more better on your 2 feet, standing more firmly in who you are.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So let's talk about your future projects.
Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned working on the sequel, prelude.
Yes. Yes, I have 2 more books coming next summer. One is the prequel, which will discuss my childhood, where I was abused, and it kind of sets it up for the current book as to what we just discussed about how somebody can end up in that abusive situation. And the sequel is actually more about the healing and what life looked like after the abuse. And, there were some hiccups, there were some struggles. It wasn't always sunshine and rainbows, but, still overcame everything and came out on the other side. So it's a happy ending still.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So let's talk about balancing vulnerability. Because sharing your story might make you vulnerable once in a while. So how do you navigate the balance between being open about your story and maintaining your own well-being?
I think I have to just be very aware of what I'm feeling, and again, a lot of it, as victims of abuse, as survivors, I should say, we are not used to being allowed to, or even, entertaining taking care of ourselves or having our own ideas and opinions. So a lot of it is just giving myself permission to take a break because when I'm writing about, some very dark things in my past, I do get psychosomatic symptoms. I get migraines. There are days where I just don't want to talk or think or deal with the area of abuse at all. I do want to go out and live a normal life. And so I will take breaks. There might be a day or two where I'm like, no podcasts today, no writing today. I'm just going to be normal and fold laundry and go do groceries and maybe have a glass of wine with a friend. So it's just knowing what you need and giving that to yourself. Give yourself permission, to take those breaks when you need them.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's true. We all need to take breaks, even if it's just for recreational purposes. To rejuvenate, to balance our well-being. We do all need to take
exactly
breaks. Yeah, thank you. So before we go to the advice for our listeners, how can we purchase your book or contact you?
Of course, my website is the best place to go, dannasdiaz.com. That's DANASDIAZ.com. And the link for my book is on there. You will also, if you sign up for emails, you'll get the updates when the other 2 books are released next year. I have a blog. All the other podcasts I've been on, including this one, are on my press room page, and links to Facebook and Instagram are on there as well.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for sharing how we can contact you. And all that information will be in the show notes and the description of this podcast. So any advice, inspirational advice for our listeners out there who, currently on their journey of recovery? Any word of encouragement for them?
Absolutely. Everybody has the power to change their lives and the lives of others. And it's in what you do and what you say, not just to other people, but to yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to my original advice. Listen to your gut, treat other people, and treat yourself how you would treat other people, but treat them kindly. And be kind to yourself. That's what it comes down to, because everything starts with you. You have the ability to affect and impact others, but mostly you have that effect on yourself.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on our show today and sharing your journey, the inspiration, the insights, the empowerment as well to survivors of abuse. And the advice is just not even for them, it's for every one of us, because it's a practical it's practical, and it's something that we could all do to empower ourselves on a day-to-day basis. So thank you so much.
Exactly. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And until next time, it's Shola and Danna on Mission to Inspire. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today on Mission to Inspire. Subscribe if you have not already done so. Like, comment, leave a message. Let's stay connected. Let's jointly inspire the world.